Welcome to episode 2 of the Spiritual Sovereign Sister podcast. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm your host. I'm an Akashic Records practitioner and teacher, and the founder of Divine Feminine Reiki. In today's episode, we're exploring what the Akashic Records are, what they're not, and how they can support you in grounded ways in your life. This episode is especially for those who feel drawn to know more about or work within their Akashic Records, either by learning how to access them yourself or by receiving support through a one-on-one Akashic Record reading. And I'm offering Akashic Level 1 training in May this year, which is a 6-week course in learning how to access and heal in your own records. Spirituality is the doorway. Sovereignty is the embodiment. So let's dive into what are the Akashic Records. The term Akasha is a Sanskrit word that means ether or space. And there is evidence from Vedic and ancient Hindu texts, such as the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, of Akasha being referenced as a cosmic space that records every thought, emotion, action, or sound of a soul. The term Akashic Records itself is more modern and Western, and it was introduced by Theosophists in the 19th century. However, the idea of an energetic record of karma and life events is deeply embedded in Indian philosophy, where they describe Akasha as the cosmic womb or memory of nature. In the 1800s, a man named Edgar Cayce really brought the Akashic Records to the forefront. He was a devout Christian and a clairvoyant who worked with people in what he called the Book of Life to help them with illnesses and life issues. And he's written many wonderful books, and if you're interested, I highly recommend reading them. You can find them on Amazon. At its core, the Akashic Records is a multidimensional field of consciousness located in the 5th dimension and above, and that holds your soul's memories across all lifetimes since you left Source or God, if you prefer a Christian perspective. Now, many people believe the Akashic Records only exists in the 5th dimension, but that's actually a very limited way of looking at them. Another common idea is that the records are only about past lives or past life healing. But the records hold everything about us as a soul, and we are far more than our past lives. We can explore things like soul purpose, starseed origins, relationships, children and parenting, business or career, how to work with our energy, emotional healing, abundance and money wounds, archetypal energies like the saboteur or the rebel, and current life challenges. And we look at these themes from a much bigger picture perspective. The foundational energy of the Akashic Records is unconditional love. And I have found, both for myself and for others that I work with, that when we view even the most painful experiences through that lens, it offers deeply transformative healing. So let's take a second and look at what the Akashic Records are not, because there's a lot of misconceptions about this. One of the biggest common questions that I get is whether the Akashic Records is just another way to do psychic or mediumship readings. And the short answer to this is no. And while some psychics may utilize the Akashic Records, the energetic space of psychic or mediumship work is different from the Akashic space. Most psychic or mediumship readings involve accessing a person's energy field or ancestors who may be present around them and offering guidance based on the reader's interpretation. In Akashic readings, while intuitive abilities are used, the guidance does not come from the reader. It comes from the person's guides or higher self, and it always comes from a place of unconditional love. And most psychic and mediumship work takes place within the fourth dimension or the astral plane. And I'll do a separate episode on what the astral plane is. It's a really big topic and it's very interesting. And if you're not sure what the astral plane is, it's often the place that we access during our dreams or visualization meditations. And while there's lots of wisdom here in the fourth dimension, but it's also a realm where discernment is required, as there is false light influences and entities that can exist there. And this is why learning to access the Akashic Records safely is so important, because there's even false versions of the Akashic Records within the astral plane. I've experienced this personally before. And this is often where people will report going into their Akashic Records and the guides are rude or telling them that they're not allowed to be there or that they don't have access to their own records. But in the real Akashic Records, that does not happen because everyone has a birthright to be able to access and work in their Akashic Records. Another misconception is that you must have certain religious beliefs to access the records. And the records are not tied to religion. And we see them referenced in Hindu philosophy, explored by theosophists, accessed by Christians, but the records themselves operate beyond religion. Religion is a human structure, and the soul, our souls, and source consciousness are not confined by it. The Akasha meets you where you are and offers guidance in a way that you can receive, but it will always operate from unconditional love. Finally, the records are not a tool for predicting the future. In higher dimensions, time doesn't function the way that it does here. The records honor free will also. And so I often hear this whenever I'm doing readings with other people. The guides will often say, you are the artist of your life, and you determine what picture you paint. Now, the guides are going to help you weigh the options, but the choice is always yours. And I love this because it reminds people of their power while also reminding them that they are deeply supported on their journey. So let's talk about questions. Questions that you can ask your Akashic Records. The best questions to ask in the records are always going to start with how, what, and why questions. And these types of questions support free will and sovereignty for yourself because they invite curiosity rather than fear. And when we start to approach our life and situations with curiosity rather than fear, we start tapping into our receiving energy centers. So questions like, should I or when will, often come from a fear and a resistance type of energy. And in the Akashic Records, we teach fear not, judge not, resist not. So if you enter the records fearful, you close yourself off from receiving because fear creates judgment and judgment creates resistance. And we can't receive guidance when we're resisting it. If you feel resistance or uncertainty about learning to access or getting an Akashic reading, it doesn't mean that the records aren't for you. The records only come into your awareness when you're ready to work with them. The guides are never going to tell you anything that you're not ready to hear, and they will never tell you what to do. And the very fact that you're listening to this right now is a sign that you're ready to work with your records. Just remember, this is a collaborative effort between you, your guides, and the reader. So let's talk about what you would experience in an Akashic Record reading. For me personally, as a reader, I offer Akashic readings both live, over Zoom, or in person for those that are local to me. So before the session, you prepare your questions. And if you aren't sure what to ask, I send a PDF of questions that you can ask broken down into different life areas because it can be overwhelming to sit and think about, well, what do I ask? And then we sit down together and I open your records using a sacred prayer that takes me directly into your Akashic space. And then you begin to ask your masters, teachers, and loved ones your questions out loud, and I channel the answers back to you. And often the guides may even ask you questions, and it creates this back and forth dialogue. The words that come through carry frequencies and codes that can move energetic stagnation, and many sensitive people often feel shifts during or after the sessions. Simply sitting in the energy of the records, whether in person or online, can be deeply healing. And yes, just because you are sitting there with me channeling your records does not mean that you also are not in the energy of your records. Again, in sessions, we're all working together and you get to experience that beautiful energy as well. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of working in the Akashic Records. So working with your guides offers deep clarity, healing, and profound self-awareness. You gain deep insights into your soul's purpose, patterns, and lessons, and helping to explain even reoccurring life challenges and relationships. For me, one of the biggest benefits has been understanding reoccurring patterns in my life and identifying the common lessons within them. Recently, a consistent theme that had been coming up has not just been trusting my intuition, but actually taking action on it. And they helped me to see in previous experiences what empowered action would have looked like so that I know what to do differently in the future. And I've been able to apply that, and it has really saved me from a lot of hardships. Many people that I work with on a monthly basis in their records report subtle yet powerful emotional and spiritual shifts. So clients have noticed a sense of peace and freedom in their everyday life because the guides help to uncover and release unresolved traumas and emotional blocks and karmic debts from this or past lives. Another benefit is clarity on life direction. Access to the records provides guidance on career, relationships, and personal goals, helping you to make informed decisions aligned with your highest good. And this really helps people with empowerment and confidence because understanding your unique gifts and strengths and even your soul mission, you can step into your authenticity. Lastly, and I feel like this is really important, while yes, looking at past life and even current life situations is important, the guidance that is offered from the guides is one that comes from a really grounded place. Meaning, while yes, we might be up in the ethers to discover and receive this wisdom, the guidance the guides brings to us is one where it applies to our everyday life right here, right now. So it's not just these helpful theories or you should do this. It's guidance that can make a meaningful difference in our lives. One of the most impactful lessons my guides have helped me with is understanding reciprocity. And this is actually a spiritual law, the spiritual law of reciprocity. Where do I overgive? When does fear drive my choices? How do I create balance? That awareness alone brought more aligned friendships and business relationships into my life that provided me with the connection and emotional abundance that I had been seeking. And it taught me that it's not just about having the thing, it's about how having the thing is supposed to make me feel. Thank you for listening to the Spiritual Sovereign Sister podcast. I truly hope that this helped you to understand what the Akashic Records are. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email with your questions about any spiritual topic, as I can do episodes on them. And if you're interested in either learning to read your own Akashic Records or booking a one-on-one session with me, you can visit my website, and I'll put my contact and website information in the show notes below. See you in the next episode.